so excited today to talk to my dear friend, CEO and founder of She Is Safe. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I love this organization. I actually was honored to work for Michelle for a little bit. And I really fell in love even more with the organization when I saw the inside of She Is Safe. Well, it's International Women's Month, awareness of everything that we women have to struggle with in this world is high this month and talked all over. So I reached out to Michelle and I said, friend, do you want to come and talk to me a little bit about She's Safe? Especially now, ever since the Sound of Freedom came out, there has been such a heightened need to talk about the issue of human trafficking around the world. And that is what She Is Safe, the heart of She Is Safe is about. So, first of all, Michelle, welcome to my show, Michelle, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Patricia. It's delightful to see you again and to be with you on this important topic.
Absolutely. And there are probably not too many people that are more experts or that know this topic more than my friend Michelle. She has been working with women and girls who are in these regions in the world where sex trafficking is just part of the culture in many ways. So I wanted to ask you, Michelle, as a nonprofit leader, author, and speaker that you are for women and girls. Give us your thoughts on International Women's Month, right, that we're celebrating.
Yeah, well, I have been so impressed by women near and far, but particularly women who live in really challenging circumstances, that they are just so ready to roll up their sleeves and make life better for all the women and girls in their community. I mean, they have so little to work with, and yet they're ready to move in and make a difference. And my over 25 years of working with women in these hard places, I'm always impressed with their dedication to their family and to their hard work. And now all the statistics tell us that women and girls are the game changers in their communities. If their voices are heeded and they're allowed to put their gifts and abilities to work, it can make all the difference in the world for everyone in the community.
Wow. Now, we know that you actually in our email exchange, you talked about the fact that Sound of Freedom, of course, brought in the realities of sex trafficking in a way that really shocked the population, right? The American population. And you were talking about the importance of just showing people what they can do, right? And you actually put together like a seminar or something. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I'm so grateful for the heightened awareness of human trafficking, and I was invited to a premiere of the Sound of Freedom because they wanted somebody on platform after the movie to tell people what they could do. So it was a great opportunity for She Is Safe. And from that time, what we've assessed with the people we've talked to about who have seen the movie is yes, they leave with their hearts pounding and they feel like I've got to do something, but I don't know what to do. I'm not special forces. I can't go in and rescue people. And then what about after that? What happens to those kids that are rescued? So all good questions. And of course, for those of us who have the freedom to speak up, that's a big part of what we can do is to speak on behalf of those who cannot speak for themselves. So we have to stay informed. We need also the true picture of human trafficking. Just like there was an earlier movie with Liam Neeson, Taken. And it was a story of a girl whose dad was in special forces and she was abducted and thrown into the trunk of a car. Again, a heart pounding, really great movie, heightened awareness, but only 1% of all trafficking is that scenario. the vast majority, they say over 98% of traffickers are known to their victims. They are a family member, they're a neighbor, or an auntie that, lives out of town and comes in occasionally. So getting the real picture of human trafficking, on the one hand, I think it can redirect some of that angst that we have, that desire to do something, into things that are maybe not as dramatic on the front, but they make a dramatic difference long term. And that's the way She Is Safe works. We're looking for the long-term change that's going to prevent little girls from being sold by family members in their communities, because the families have alternatives. Their mindset is changed over time about the value of their girls. So that approach, anybody can be a part of that. So we have advocates for She Is Safe nationwide. I get to go to their events. I'll be going to one in San Francisco just this week, where women have an annual Indian dinner that they sponsor, and it's to raise awareness in their community and then to raise some funds for a selected She Is Safe project in India that keeps women safe and helps them gain skills, to build a whole new life. So there are definitely things that we can do, and they are something that almost anybody can participate with. So we encourage people, go to sheissafe.org, sign up, get the updates, because we'll be telling you the latest of what's happening and what you can participate with. And we also have, one of the things I do at the Beyond Human Trafficking webinar is help people understand the tips for safety. There are things that we can teach our children right now here in the United States that will definitely keep them safe and aware. But it takes an ongoing conversation with their parents, not just a one-time conversation, but really making them aware of predators that most of them in the United States are lured now online through gaming and chat rooms, and just Facebook trafficking has seen an increase of 125% in the last year. So as we make kids aware, and as we just, I like to empower parents and help them to realize they are the protectors of their children, and their children are going to push back. So the average age that the traffickers are targeting are junior high and senior high kids. So if we can also talk to those junior hires, maybe when we give them their cell phone, their own cell phone or their own iPad, let them know that really that it still belongs to us. We have ownership of that. And every password that they create, we're going to be sitting with them regularly because I need to know every password, and I need to know every friend. And our preference is that the only friends that are on their social media are people they have actually met face to face that they could introduce to us. That's quite a standard in today's social media internet world, but it's really worth diving into with our kids and asking them thoughtful questions about how they could keep other kids safe. I think when we help them shift over into, well, this is all about my privacy and you're spying on me, it's like, no, we're helping you to help your friends to not be tricked by these traffickers. But people can get those tips for safety from She Is Safe. Just email us info@sheissafe.org and put tips for safety, and we'll get those right over.
That's great. And I'll put all of that information, of course, on my show notes, that my listeners can go there and connect with She Is Safe for sure. And you bring up something that I hear this a lot when I talk to people about the fact that, like, human trafficking is growing in America. And I remember just while working with you, the fact that when you start looking at researches, throughout the world, we know that the numbers are growing everywhere, not just in America, but compared to the rest of the world, our numbers are really not nearly as high. Tell the people. I think that this is a misconception that a lot of people don't understand. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, yeah. The number one factor, I believe, in the United States, which compared to the rest of the world means we have a very low number of trafficked individuals by comparison. It's not low. If it's more than one person, if it's only one person, that's too high for us.
Of course.
And that is the defining difference between where we live and the communities that are what we call high risk communities. So in the United States, the average person believes that boys and girls are of equal value, that men and women are important, and that they're to be nurtured, that they have giftedness, they're to be treated with dignity. That's most of the population in the United States. That's our view from a Judeo-Christian founding of this country, where other places in the world, girls are considered a burden when they're born. And then the real issue becomes, how are we going to sustain her life if she's good for nothing? So a trafficker comes along and targets those kind of communities where this is unbelievable to some people, but the fact is we've been seeing it for over 20 years. There are communities in the world that their entire economy is based on the sale of their girls. So that's 100% degree of risk for the girls who are born there compared to the United States. The degree of risk, just for you and me, how likely is it that we will be trafficked? I mean, we are very aware of predators. We are not likely to go with somebody that we do not know on the promise of a good job or a romantic thing. That does happen to men, women, boys, and girls of all ages, but it is very rare by comparison when we're comparing these other high-risk communities. So a high-risk community would be a red light district. So there are red light districts in Asia, let's say, where there are 30,000 sex slaves. 30,000 in one community. And the average age when a girl begins there is 11 years old. And she will only survive about 7 years. She will die of sexually transmitted disease infection. She'll die in childbirth because she's too young and fragile and maybe drug and alcohol involved by then. Or the number one killer of adolescent girls where we work is suicide. So that's what you call a high-risk community. So a teen girl is trafficked there and may become pregnant, may have a child. The child is 100% likely to be sexually assaulted as a child while living there in the brothel where her mother is supposedly working. So we have nothing in the United States that compares to a community like that. So red light districts in the developing world, that's where we target refugee camps or displaced persons areas. Whatever terrible thing is happening for women and girls, when you overlay that with conflict, it seems like both sides, if it's government and rebel fighters, both sides target women for one thing or another, and usually to be soldiers' wives to take care of them. Or they're held for ransom. And it was just recently a ransom in Nigeria of dozens of children, and they just hold them for money. So somebody will, and if they don't get any money, I just heard this on the radio yesterday. If no money is forthcoming, let's say the government just says, no, we're not going to pay for those children to be ransomed, they will be absorbed. So the boys will be used as child soldiers and the girls as wives, forced wives and forced to convert to whatever. So She Is Safe is very active in those environments, helping the women and girls who are displaced be able to have some kind of income generation to understand their value, and then eventually to build a sustainable life for themselves. And then source communities. These are the kinds of communities that I mentioned where every girl in the village will probably be sold. And those source communities are often traffickers' villages. Traffickers have to live somewhere, right? So they have their own villages, and all the women will tell you that, you know, our girls just kind of went missing, and we think our husband was involved and maybe got them a good job somewhere, but we haven't heard from them since they left. And so those are the kinds of village that are, they've been researched. We know exactly where they are. And lots of nonprofits just kind of stay away because it's dangerous to deal with these cartels. But we try to show up in a gentle, I think, Christ-like way. And as he went from village to village and town to town, we love to go and just say, oh, you know, I wonder where your girls are. You must be missing them. And we've helped other villages produce and sell something besides their daughters. And it changes everything for them. So if we share that with a village of, say, 200 families, maybe only 20 families that first year will say, I'd like to try that, generating income some other way. And everybody's watching, you know, how is this going to go? Is this wife who's running a goat farm or whatever, is she going to get disrespectful to her husband? Is it going to go poorly for them? They're not going to have enough money to survive. And just the opposite happens. So in one particular village where we started this, basically now there are over 100 families participating, which you get to a critical mass and you start talking to everyone, letting them know that it's illegal activity to sell another human being. It used to be okay, culturally okay, but it's not okay now. And you want to save your neighbors and friends from being incarcerated. We're helping them to generate income a different way. So now that one village, we started working there about 10 years ago, this notorious village. We have reduced human trafficking, along with some other good things that were happening there, by 85%. So it's no longer normal to sell a girl. It's no longer socially acceptable. There's a school in the village, the wonderful teachers there, girls in backpacks and older girls with vocational training skills. Everything can change. And I often think of those boys who are, you know, coming up and wondering who they're going to marry. If all the girls are gone, you know, they'd have to go and buy a girl from somewhere else. So that burden is lifted from him. And the dads who, even though they're traffickers, they suffer when their girls are sold. They're suffering as well. So it's like all boats rise when you just start offering some gentle alternatives. So you can compare that to, say, the Taken movie, where, you know, it's very dramatic and you barrel in. And what often happens is kind of the rats scatter when you take that approach, and then they'll just reconstitute somewhere else. So I really love the gentle friendship approach. And we're always linking arm in arm with those Indigenous co-worker women.
So important.
So we have 19 on staff for She Is Safe, and we're in 11 countries. But the day-to-day work is done by local women who know the language and culture and who grew up in these circumstances. We have 332 of those co-workers doing the work while you and I are having a nice conversation right now.
Yes. Yeah, and it's incredible because I actually talked to a friend who is a missionary, and she had felt a call to India. And she went to India and she told me this story. She said, when I got there, because I'm white, you know, she's very like the typical like blue hair, blue eyes and whatever. She said these people were treating me like I was like a god or something. And they wouldn't listen to my message because they treated me like a celebrity. And so she came back and she started a ministry to actually equip missionaries who are indigenous. It's exactly what She Safe does. So you all, of course, you and your sweetheart Daniel, who is in heaven now, and you guys started this, and he wrote this incredible curriculum that you use, and you used to empower these people, the local people that partner with She Safe, and they are so much more likely to be accepted by the officials,
Yes.
to be heard by the community, and so it makes the message clear, right? It makes
Yes.
the teaching or the program is just so much more, so much easier to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
The
It's
community.
so interesting. That was my journey early on. My husband and I and our two girls were missionaries in East Africa. And my husband was working with some African church planter guys, and I was getting acquainted with their wives, and I was so impressed by them. And then when I learned that girls were being sold in our community, I was so incensed. But I knew nothing about how to address the issue. So I began interviewing the African women who grew up in this environment, and they had tremendous passion and insights that we could not have had otherwise. And during that process, I was in conversation along with a co-author with University Press, and they said, that would make a wonderful book. We'd love to publish it. Um, we would love for you to get fresh stories and begin traveling. So that was the launch of She Is Safe, was inquiring of those local women. Tell us what it was like to grow up here, and how have you transcended, and how would you recommend that we work together with you? That became the framework for She Is Safe over 21 years ago, and we still use that today. We're very reliant on the local women, and because not only what you mentioned is it's not a cultural leap when they go into these communities, but they also have so much insight because they've lived it. They have the credibility. They're not outside rock stars right there.
Yeah.
They're just right there with them. And it really is a beautiful expression. If we North Americans can take a little step back and be servants of the local indigenous initiative, we can get so much more done than if Michele Rickett has to go there, and Michele Rickett has to rescue everyone, and Michele Rickett has to disciple everyone and help grow them up. I would have such a small impact in the world. Could be sweet, it could be good, but we see over 78,000 individuals in one of our programs of prevention or rescue or restoration in a 12-month period. There's no way one person could accomplish that much. It's all these amazing women working together. And, women generally are collaborators. We like to do things together. We enjoy each other and want to applaud each other. So it's a beautiful way to work.
It really is. And I have seen it, from the inside. I say
Yeah.
this to everyone. And so one of the things that I love about She Is Safe is how transparent they are about how they use the money from the donors on these programs. And actually their statistics, or their use of donor dollars or supporter dollars, is very rare in the nonprofit industry, because you all use like close to 80%. It goes back to the programs, right, Michele?
Yes,
Isn't that
yeah, it's
correct?
over
Which is
80%. That's an important value to it. I will tell you, it's getting harder and harder because just things like having an annual audit, we're committed to transparency. Well, that cost goes up every single year. It's just a cost of doing what we do, but we are committed to stewarding those funds well. Our most successful, most cost-effective program are these She Is Safe groups. We call them transformation groups because women are transformed in every way that a human being can be transformed. So we train local women to run these groups, and you can have 12 to 20 women in a group. And those women meet every single week, and they're there to learn together. So it's usually in a home or outdoors somewhere, Many of the women are illiterate. They sign on to the program with a thumbprint. So one of the things we love to see them learn is literacy skills and financial literacy. You know, women who really don't understand math, it's easy for a loan shark to come to them and say, well, your husband is sick and you need money right now. We'll loan it to you, but it's 45% interest. They don't know what that even means. They just heard, I can get the money I need right now. So what we train them to do in their group, and this was the curriculum that my husband helped to formulate for She Is Safe, is compounding interest. So if the group works together and has a saving and lending pool from which to draw, they become each other's loan officers over a period of time. So saving and lending and learning, they learn about health for their girls, the devastating effects of child marriage or selling your daughter or early childbirth, those kind of things. And they're learning some kind of micro business that they can run that will make them entrepreneurs in their own community. So we don't hire them to make jewelry for us to sell in the United States or anything like that, because that wouldn't help their credibility in their own community. So they can make, even in a refugee camp, there's a need for food and clothes, and people get married and people want to buy wedding gifts for them. So all of those represent a micro business that a person could take on. So these women, as they're meeting every single week, they decide together how much they think they could afford to deposit each week. And even the poorest women have come forward, and most of them start with 25 cents a week. But they have never had a passbook before. They've never seen the beauty of compounding interest. So they're learning that literacy. And we have had one group that started with 25 cents a week. And now over the course of time, they have loaned to each other and to others in their community the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars.
Wow.
So they went from a
So-
quarter to, and they're business women. They are able to work with the banking system or with local governments. It's just amazing what it does to lift their sites. And we've been doing these kind of groups for more than a decade now, to the point that the teen girls have come forward and said, we want our own groups, because we don't want to get in the fix that our mothers were in. We want to start saving and lending now and funding our own businesses and initiatives. These are kids of women who, you know, just the decade before were considered garbage pickers and street sweepers, and now they're elevated to entrepreneurs, and they think of themselves that way. They're wonderful role models for their kids. It changes everything. And the cost for each woman in that program is $67 a year.
Imagine.
It's just mind-blowing how little it takes to give a woman a leg up and know that you are rescuing one and all of her children.
Yes, it's incredible. And it's you know, I've seen it, and of course there is no way that we can really get a great picture of what all that She's Safe does in 30 minutes of a conversation. I highly recommend you to go to their website and look around. And Michele is wonderful. Her team, her entire team is just, they want to inform you. They want to know, for you to know what else going on around the world that people have no idea. And but then more importantly, we see the harsh of human trafficking, which is horrible in the world. But we need to see that there are organizations like She's Safe that are doing for many years, 21 years now, right, Michele?
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, the incredible, I remember just seeing at the end of 2021, I think it was, that when I got to the impact report, and it was like over 300,000 women and girls were impacted that year, you know, in their programs in the seven countries that they work. And then this is what I want you to share, because there are so many, because I've seen several videos and I've heard the stories and I've read the stories, but I know. Can you share like a wonderful story of just one of your programs that you could like to talk to us and tell us about?
Yes, I have a favorite story. It was earlier on in the work of She Is Safe. We had border crossing stations. So there are open borders between Nepal, India, Bangladesh. That whole region is the busiest human trafficking corridor in the world. And so we were working with some local women there who were empowered to just interview anybody who walked by and seemed to have some kind of red flag. And so these women were really astute at picking that up. And they would bring someone into the border rescue station. And generally, the people who came in were illiterate. So they had posters that showed, was money being exchanged for you? Do you know this person you're going with? Do you know what might be happening to you when you go beyond this border? So they would take pictures of the girls. They would keep a log with her name, the name of her village, the phone number of her parents, if they could get it from her, all of that information, just in case there was going to be a prosecution. You want to be able to contact the victim. So all of that was all good. One day, though, there were these 5 girls who came across, and there were 2 young men with them. It just looked a little odd. And so they brought the girls. They had the guard talk with the young men while the girls were brought into the station, and the girls just crumbled. They said, these men are saying they can do whatever they want with us. That was not the arrangement. Our parents paid them to get us a good job. We are the smartest girls in our village. They were like 14-year-olds and
Wow.
so lovely. And so the men were taken into custody and prosecuted on the word of these girls, so out of commission. But somebody had to go with them back to their village and explain there's this weird idea in that culture that if a girl leaves the village, even if your family encourages it and pays for her, that you assume she's been sexually compromised on the way. And
Mm.
so she will be rejected in the village. So it's very important that someone trusted go back with her and tell her parents, nothing bad really happened on the way. She's all right. But it was a very dangerous situation. So that's our opportunity then to talk to the family about maybe producing and selling something else besides their daughters. So on that way, that long trek, 13 hours through the Himalayas, back to their village, the girls were telling what had happened to their village that got them into this situation. They said, we own no land. Our family are as squatters, and the dads have gone away, most of them presumably to find jobs, but they never send money home. So we're moms and older people and little children, and we're the smartest girls in the village. They just were so proud of that. They said, but
So cute.
we were so hungry most of the time. We ate snails out of a drainage ditch just to survive. And we got to a point where our mother said, your girls are getting older. You could probably get a good job in a big city. And there are job recruiters that come through and will pay them something to do that for you. So that's what had happened. But one of the girls said, all we really need is to rent some land and get some tools and seeds, and we could raise more than enough food for the whole village. And this other girl said, I'm the only literate person in the village. I would love to be a teacher for our village. And this other girl said, but you know what? We need some protein. You can't just live on vegetables. They had this amazing community development program in their minds already. And so that's what we told their parents. These girls, you're right. They are like a gift from heaven to you. They are brilliant and they really want to work and make things work. It could be that part of why people suffer so much is God gives them the gift, gives them the solution to their problems, and they sell it away for short-term gain. So if you keep these girls, we would love to work with you on their dream, making it come true. And so one of the first things they did is they established the Golden Future Girls Farming Cooperative, where they grew all the vegetables for the village. And we tapped a Nepali veterinarian to ask him, what kind of animal protein, would work in this rugged terrain. And in that particular area, he said pig farming. And now I know more about pigs than I ever hoped to know. A sow will give birth 3 or 4 times a year to 12 to 20 piglets. And they get really big. And so if a girl wants to go to school, she sells one of those. She can pay not only her tuition, but her little brothers as well. So the girls, we always tell people that we help. Part of your responsibility is to bless not only your own family, but the entire village. Start praying now. Who should get a donation from you, either of money or 2 of your finest little piglets? And the girls got so excited. They said, we really want to do this right. Could we have the giving of the piglet festival? And it
Oh
involved
my,
pig dancing and pig poetry. And with great fanfare, they hand over this gift so that somebody else could have a life. Anyway, it's one of my
um,
favorite stories because
oh
it
my,
comes full circle. You know how
full
good it
circle.
feels to be
Yes,
generous? It's just the best
yes.
feeling ever. And even the poorest of the poor are longing
Mm.
to be able to be generous.
And your story that you just told to me, because there are the 3 programs that she saved: the prevention, rescue, and restoration, right? That those
Yes.
are the 3-pronged approaches that
Mhm.
she saved. And I think that story kind of covers all of it,
It
right? Because it
does.
really does. And
Yes.
I just love it because it's just, like you said, a full circle. And these children are, and we've seen this, I've seen this when I work with you. It's like you see story after story that these women, first of all the entire program is based on the love of God through Christ. So
Mhm.
it is an unapologetically Christian organization that does all of this in the name of Jesus. So this is the God Size Story Show. So
Mhm.
for those of the people who listen, uh, you are not only helping people being restored and rescued, and the prevention to occur in these societies by supporting She's Safe. You are also expanding the kingdom of God, because these kids, these families, they hear the gospel of Christ, and many of them become believers, which we talked about that so many times, Michelle, when we work together, that why, I mean, to save someone from the predators of this life and then not present the means to save them from the greatest predator of all, right? The predator of our soul, Satan.
Yeah.
It would be just
It'd be
incomplete
tragic.
work. It would be a
Yes.
tragedy.
Yes, it would.
So
And they say that people who are freed from trafficking generally go back to their trafficker 7 times.
exactly.
So, and this is my experience. I was sexually exploited as a child and rescued from the home and placed with a Christian family where I gained a whole new identity in Christ.
Yes.
And so that's what makes all the difference. It's not like I have nowhere to turn. I always have somewhere to turn. And all of the people that we're dealing with, we're constantly introducing them to Christ. And the local co-workers, of course, are all attached to local churches there. So we have the avenue for those who benefit from She Is Safe to be able to transition into that whole new life with, like I had to have a whole new family. And in some
Yes.
cases, the church becomes that family.
Absolutely. And, Michelle is definitely a God-sized story. I was going to ask that question about really, this is a woman who was rescued from sex exploitation, and who God called to rescue others from the same horrible situation. And it is just incredible. We talked about that so many times when we work together. It's just like how God always used your tears. If you give it to them, He's going to use them for your good and His glory. He's good. And she is an incredible example. There's no telling how many people are going to be lining up in heaven to say thank you to Michelle and her team, and the donors who are
Yes.
also the hand and feet. Without the supporters of She Is Safe, they cannot do the work that they are doing. And listen, you may be listening or viewing this interview right now and may be thinking, oh my goodness, I had no idea that She Is Safe existed and it's a Christian organization. Yes, exactly. You need to go and check it out because you may be supporting other other organizations, or you may be thinking about supporting other organizations, and you are a believer. You're supporting the kingdom too when you support She Is Safe. So I highly, 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 well, my husband and I have been supporters for many years and will continue to be, because we really believe, and I have seen with my own eyes uh, the impact of this great organization in the world. So this
Yeah. Oh, thank
is
you.
now, Michele, tell the my viewers, um, what are the biggest challenges that you're facing today, 2023, to for these programs to continue successfully?
Well, I would say it's the burden of expansion. We have so many invitations worldwide from local women who say, we're here, we have an organization, we're ready to partner with She Is Safe, and we want you with us in these 14 nations. It's like, oh, it's taken us 21 years to refine these programs where they can work anywhere. And now places everywhere are asking us for them. And of course, we can't start new territory and not be able to take care of the planting the Lord has already given us. So that's, for me, that's the burden of growth. For a really funny example, we've been working in India for more than 21 years. I have friends there and Indian women. And one of them, is just so determined to grow the ministry that she has gone from India to Bangladesh. And she said that, what can we do? There are these 40 women there. They're now oriented and say they want to start and they want to have She Is Safe Bangladesh. It's like, well, okay.
Not
Well,
that
by
simple.
faith, we could help those 40 get going, but it's $67 per woman to a budget that's already stretched in every area. And then we know those women will multiply. Generally, each leader woman has 12 to 20 women in about 3 or 4 groups. So the multiplication hits, pretty hard.
Yes.
But yeah, and I think a lot of people either look away from the topic because it's just so awful, or they don't learn the real picture to the point where they understand that there are God-given solutions there, that this is not all bad news. We can actually make a huge difference if we go. I call this a Goliath. This is a Goliath in our day, and we know what to do. We listen to the Lord, and when he says run forward, pick up some smooth stones, you take what you have to fell the giant. And we should not be intimidated. I think that's part of the issue, is people become paralyzed by the magnitude of the problem,
Yes.
when we ought to say, well, God is a multiplier and he's in charge of everything. Let's do this in his way and watch what he will do.
Absolutely. Michele, there may be somebody that's listening right now and they're saying, my goodness, I know I'm just, just one person, but these are stories, and this subject pricks my heart. I feel like God wants me to do something about it. What can the average person do to bring freedom to girls and women around the world?
Well, I say everything that we do is on the foundation of prayer. So if people are listening and they believe in prayer and they know how to exercise faith, that's how we begin. And but I would say stay informed so that you're praying about the true situation. You can do that by signing up on the homepage, sheissafe.org. We'll get you those constantly. We're sending out email updates. And then consider becoming an advocate. So an advocate opens their network to us and maybe invites just a few couples over for dinner and has somebody from She Is Safe come and present there. And then those advocacy groups, we actually are forming a North Atlanta advocacy group. I think it's time, definitely time for
nice.
that.
Yay.
We've
Yes.
had them other places, but there have been several churches that have just kind of opened their hearts to She Is Safe. We've done the Beyond Human Trafficking webinar for them, and kind of the next step is let's form a group here that's going to pray once a month, that's going to do some kind of creative event to raise funds and awareness and more prayer for a particular spot where She Is Safe is working. So you can email us your interest, info@sheissafe.org, about any and all of that, and we'll get right back to you.
Absolutely. And here's a great idea that Michelle just gave. Churches are always looking for a good speaker, that would come and bring awareness to the issue to their people. So if you have a Sunday school that would be Michelle is an incredible speaker. As you can tell, she's a wonderful speaker and she's an author. By the way, we will be giving away a copy of her beautiful book, which really started the entire program. We're giving away a copy for someone in our audience. All you have to do is just put your email in the form that is connected to this interview notes, and your name is going to be entered, and you will receive more information about She Is Safe as well. And this is just such great interview, great conversation. And of course, you and I have much more to catch up with. So that's going to have to be over coffee, right? Or lunch or something.
I'll look forward to that. You're the sweetest friend. Thank you
oh.
so much for all you're doing for the kingdom and all for watching.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for what you do. And we really appreciate you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.